Well, good evening, everyone. And we already have people online. So, Gail, let's start. I'm not going to give a very long introduction because some of you have come to our previous webinar, but for those of you who have not, welcome to the Chakras, Trauma and Healing with Sound and Light with Gail Lynn at the Center of Lifelong Learning. My name is Chiara Maripodi, and I am the director for the Center of Lifelong Learning here at the California Institute for Human Science. And we are dedicated to showcasing and offering unique events, webinars, and educational programs such as this one to all of you while we're cultivating deep connections with ourselves, with the planet, our educators, professionals, each other, and creating a community where we gather and we connect and we integrate. So tonight, I'm so pleased to be able to welcome our presenter, Gail Lynn. Now, Gail is a rebel, she's a visionary, and a weaver of information, as you soon will find out. She's a published author, and she is the inventor of the harmonic egg. She's a sought-after speaker and podcast guest on the topic of sound and light as therapy. And she's the chief egg guardian. Gail, I could be here all night with your resume and with your presentation introduction, but this is your time and everybody's here to listen to you and not to me. So I'm going to give it over to you. Enjoy, everybody.
Thank you. So I'm going to kind of follow the same format that I did last time. Once I share my screen with my presentation, I'm going to go off camera and turn this light off that's in my face. And then I'll just be talking to my computer here in this room by myself. So I just moved into a new house, so hopefully it's not too bad of an echo. I tried to put some rugs around and everything. So welcome, everybody. I think you guys are in for a real treat today. Not because, like I'm so special or anything, but I have a lot of information to cover. So you're going to want to take notes, or you're going to probably want to rewatch this presentation because there is a lot of stuff and we have to cover it all in 1 hour. So I know I have 2.5 minutes per slide. And I have a lot of stories that I'll tell you in between. So you'll read the presentation slides and I'll kind of talk through some highlights and stuff. So here we go. So I'm going to go off camera, share my screen, and we're going to go. Enjoy, you guys. And then I'll be back on camera to answer questions afterwards. All right, lovely people, here we go. This is going to be really fun. I'm super excited to share this information with you guys. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about chakras and how that's related to trauma and weaving that into sound and light. So how many of you knew that you could have an imbalance in the root chakra, and it could be because you had physical or sexual abuse, or you have this pain or inflammation like in the tailbone, or you've been abandoned. Maybe you were abandoned by a spouse, or you were abandoned by your parents, or any number of things. If you have an alcohol addiction, my father had an alcohol addiction, so he probably had an imbalance in his root chakra. I never knew that growing up as a kid. I've had a lot of clients that had L4, which is lumbar 4 and lumbar 5 issues. And that relates to an abandonment, a trauma, throwing the root chakra out of balance. It's so crazy, you guys. It's so fun that you can figure out what is going on in your body just by listening to your body. And that's what we talked about last week, is listening to your body. You could have lower back pain, like we're talking about the tailbone area, or lower back pain. It could be financial issues, and people go through chiropractors, they get surgeries, they go through so much stuff. When what if it was just to reset the root chakra? And I'm going to share with you guys throughout this presentation the colors that are associated with rebooting each chakra. And I'm going to cover what instruments will reboot each chakra, and what foods, and also what smells. So it's really, really fun. This is going to be really, really fun. So one of the malfunctions that can happen with the root chakra is weight problems. So if you have an imbalance in the root chakra, you could be dealing with weight problems. We won't go into, it could be a fatty liver. There's so many different things that it could be, but eating disorders, constipation, low energy. So root chakra has a lot to do with survival. So if you maybe even have eye problems or teeth problems, you're looking at an imbalance in the root chakra, which is your survival chakra, which makes so much sense. If you think about it, that an imbalance in that chakra is about survival. So eyes, ears, teeth, maybe even a lot of people during COVID were losing their sense of taste and smell. We have been using the harmonic egg to reset the root chakra. And that's really been helping people to get their taste back. It's really, really beautiful. So some of the smells would be the patchouli or sandalwood to bring the root chakra back into balance. And at the end of this presentation, I'm going to also give you guys a few recommended reading. I've probably read 150 books on these topics, and I've put it all together to weave this information together and taken from different experts. But what you'll notice too is everybody might have a different opinion. And so it doesn't matter who I am or what my research has, it's what resonates with you. So if this resonates with you, great. You throw away what doesn't resonate with you. And that's kind of what I've done with all the books that I've read. So different foods that would strengthen the root chakra. Think about red, red beets, radishes, carrots go into that. And the sacral chakra is the orange, but they meld together, they overlap each other. So you'll see that some of them will be a repeat. You'll see maybe lower back pain as an imbalance to the sacral chakra because they overlap. So root chakra instruments, and this has been done. We've done live blood analysis before and after using drumming in the harmonic egg, and we've noticed an increase in the white blood cell count. So that's telling me that it's building the immune system. It's helping the immune system. So the root chakra is very low bass, low effect instruments. So the bassoon, the tuba, the trombone, drums really, really help the, sorry, I got a pop-up coming up on my screen, the root chakra come back into balance. So lovely, lovely, lovely. Our root chakras are so amazing to our survival. And what I see is a lot of healers. They're out of balance in their lower chakras because they spend a lot of time in the third eye chakra and the crown chakra. And if you're not balanced in all of them, then you're not balanced in mind, body, and spirit. You really want to have that balance in mind, body, spirit. One chakra out of balance is not balanced. So there are people that'll say, oh, well, my crown chakra is very strong and my third eye is very strong. But if they're not taking care of the whole body as a system, they're doing themselves a disservice. So now we go to the sacral chakra. So that is more of the color orange. And the imbalance can be caused by physical and sexual abuse. Like I said, these kind of transition over and they overlap a little bit. So sugar cravings, it's a problem that I've had over the years, and I've been able to reset my sacral chakra and help with those sugar cravings. I'm basically off of refined sugar. So if you guys have those, that was my biggest problem. If I had an addiction, it was definitely sugar. So resetting my sacral chakra has helped immensely. I don't crave it like I did before. It's so cool. Eating disorders, frustration, shame or guilt, and then father issues. I've had a lot of men and women that have father issues, and it seems to lie right in the imbalance of the sacral chakra. So it's associated with different, I won't read all this to you guys. I can tell you some stories because I've seen basically thousands of clients in the harmonic egg. And this information has proven to be accurate. It's amazing. So another malfunction could be impotence. So I have a lot of men that come in with erectile dysfunction, you know, rebooting the sacral chakra. And I'll get the next slide will show you what instruments bring that chakra back into balance. And you know, it's probably embarrassing for guys, but a lot of them would come in and share with me that they had this issue, and we were able to help them. There's also, I could do another presentation altogether on the tone of C, which is a C tone, which is associated with the color of red, that can bring the erectile dysfunction back into balance. That's why that's not really the way I wanted to say it, but it can help with erectile dysfunction because a lot of men are missing their C tone in their voice. I've done a lot of research on that as well. Again, another presentation for another day. So as you can see, there's a lot of different associations with the sacral chakra, and the smells that would bring that chakra back into balance would be like a vanilla, bergamot, and then orange foods, orange, mango, papaya, pumpkin. So it's so wonderful when you can listen to your body, you can see what is going on, and you can figure out how to bring that back into balance. And now when I get to the third eye chakra, I'll tell you guys a story about headaches that I get. So when I have people that come in with father issues, I will put them on flute music. Flute and guitar together help with sugar cravings. So if you have music at home that has flute and guitar in it, you can actually do yourself a really good service to put yourself on that music to help with sugar cravings. I mean, you guys, this is so cool. This is so cool that the waveforms of instruments can actually bring different organs, different systems of your body back into balance. I'm just in awe over our bodies. Our bodies are so amazing, yet we don't listen. We don't listen to them. But look at these examples that I'm giving you guys, just bringing the chakra back into balance with different instruments. So cool. So the solar plexus chakra, and this is associated with the color yellow. I have a lot of women that they have self-esteem issues, they have empowerment issues, they're not empowering themselves, so their personal power lies in the solar plexus chakra. So it's a lot of emotional issues, self-respect, self-esteem. It is a color that I use with a lot of women. You can also wear this color. So wearing the color yellow, eating foods of the color yellow, jewelry, the color yellow, painting your room that maybe you have an office in with the colors. And I know this could change, so you have to change the color of your paint, but you know, surrounding yourself with these colors, even maybe a yellow pillowcase for sleeping. So many different ideas in ways that you can use color and sound at home to help your body to heal itself naturally. And I think we're getting into, oh, they say the age of Aquarius. They say, you know, we're in this new system of the earth plane where frequency is going to be our new medicine. And I really believe that it is showing itself to and proving itself to be true time and time again. So really, really cool stuff. Let's see, the sympathetic, I'm reading the slide, and some people may not know what sympathetic fight or flight is. And when I wrote that, I didn't think about that. So we have a nervous system. It's called the autonomic nervous system. We have the sympathetic of fight or flight and the parasympathetic parts of the nervous system. And the parasympathetic is your rest and digest. So if you're always in the sympathetic part of your nervous system, your organs aren't working. You're not resting and digesting. The sympathetic is where the saber-toothed tiger or the bear is chasing you. And you're either going to be dead in 5 minutes or you're going to survive. And you're supposed to come back out of that fight or flight mode and go back into a more balanced parasympathetic part of your nervous system. The way we live our lives today, including myself, and I'm working on that, I work on it every day, is we're always going. If the phone's not going off, then the computer is going off, or you've got the TV on, or your social media, or the kids are yelling at you, or your boss is yelling at you. We're always in this fight or flight. And we have to breathe. We have to learn to get into balance with our nervous system. Very important, because otherwise things just start shutting down and not working. So some of the other malfunctions with an imbalance in the solar plexus chakra are, as you can read on the screen. This, shows up depression. Depression shows up in a couple of different places and imbalances in the different chakras. So you'll see those overlap. Chronic fatigue. A lot of people have chronic fatigue. And of course, it could be a viral load. But why did you get that viral load? Maybe it was a long-term imbalance in the solar plexus chakra. Maybe lots of stress and you weren't taking care of yourself. And so, this virus rears its ugly head. But what is the root cause? It's an imbalance in the body, an imbalance in one of the chakras, an imbalance in one of your systems of your body. So some of the smells that could bring that back into balance is jasmine. It's a wonderful smell. And then we're looking at the yellow foods like bananas and pineapples, yellow and orange peppers. And again, you'll see some overlap from chakra to chakra because they do overlap. They meld and blend right into each other. You can see there's cheese and yogurt, kefir, cereal. There's different foods that'll bring that solar plexus chakra back into balance. And some of the instruments, organ, harp, guitar. Oh my gosh. Harp is so beautiful. And I see this organ that we put on the slide. I don't know if any of you have been to Barcelona, to the Sagrada de Familia. It's a basilica in Barcelona, Spain. Oh my gosh. There's these organs that show up all over the world in different cultures that I think they knew back in the day that these organs could help our bodies to heal. And think about how that just, when you listen to that pipe organ in your church or wherever you go, you have a pipe organ, it just goes through your whole body and you can feel it in every cell of your being, activating every cell of your being. So amazing. I hope you guys are writing down your questions. So we get to the heart chakra. So this is associated with the thymus gland, lungs, hands, heart, obviously the heart, immune system. It governs the love and compassion, unconditional acceptance, forgiveness, and empathy. And I have a boyfriend that does the harmonic egg, and he lost his wife probably about 13 years ago now. And she aspirated and passed away in the shower. He was downstairs. He heard the shower go on, and then the shower went off, and she never came downstairs. And later on, he went upstairs to found her dead in the shower. And shortly after that, he had a heart attack. This was the love of his life. 27 years of marriage, and she was in her 50s, and he lost her. The doctors told him that 40% of his heart died with that heart attack. So he had a pacemaker put in, and he did the harmonic egg probably for about a year, on and off. He'd come in once a month, once a week, various times here and there. And after about 10 years, you have to get the battery replaced in these pacemakers. So I have medical doctors that come into the center, and they said, get us his ejection fraction and cardiac output numbers, and we'll be able to tell you how much of his heart is still dead, or how much of his heart is functioning, whether you think about the glass half full or half empty, right? And his numbers showed that his heart was fully functioning, 100% functioning. I mean, how crazy is that? Do we really believe that our bodies cannot regenerate? That our bodies can't fix themselves when we put them in the right environment? When we have balance? Now I tease him and I just say, it's just because you love me so much. Your heart just grew and grew. But how many of you have heard of somebody regenerating their liver or regenerating? I've heard of women who had a hysterectomy and then they had an ovary that grew back. I've heard of people that had their thyroid removed, and there's always still some cells and some tissue, that's left behind. And I've heard of the thyroid growing back. Why do we think that we're not any better than a salamander or a gecko that can grow a limb or a tail back? Right? It's about being in balance. And I think we are so powerful, and we're such amazing beings of light and sound, that light and sound are what we're going to need to heal with. So some of the malfunctions are the high blood pressure, asthma. And of course, I can tell you a story about the asthma while you're reading this. There's a book, and I believe it's at the end slide with some recommended reading, but it's Julia Cannon, and the book is called Soul Speak. And I had asthma when I was 4 years old. I was diagnosed with asthma, probably born with it. And it can have something to do with past lives as well. So the way that Julia Cannon writes the book, her mom was the Dolores Cannon, hypnotherapist and kind of channeler. And Julia is a nurse or an RN. And so she writes the book from all her mom's research of hypnotherapy in helping to people to heal by finding out, maybe some past life stuff. But she writes the book from a really cool perspective I think you'd all enjoy. If you have a neck problem, she'll say, okay, what is your neck used for? It's looking at different perspectives, turning your head and seeing different perspectives. So what aren't you willing to look at? And so she writes the book really beautifully. So in that book, she said something about asthma, that when we have a past life, of course, if you believe in past lives, we bring over things. Our DNA doesn't know the difference between 20 years ago or 200 years ago for our soul. So our DNA can bring over things like asthma if we maybe drowned or were hung or had our head chopped off. And so what I realized is, after doing sound and light therapy, my asthma went away. I also had reoccurring dreams of drowning. Those went away when the asthma went away. Interesting. So everything's connected. I love putting the puzzle pieces together and trying to figure out the root cause of why things happen to not only me, but my friends, family, clients. I feel like I'm a private investigator on a daily basis. It's so fun. So foods that strengthen, think green beans, broccoli, kale, lettuce, so think green. There are always exceptions to every rule. So you have some brown rice, lentils, and beans. There's got to be something in those that actually have benefits to the heart chakra, because they seem to also strengthen the heart chakra. And here we see harp again, bells, orchestra. So anything with strings, so viola, guitar, cello, think heartstrings. And that will bring that heart chakra back into balance. So have you guys ever listened to a song and you're like, oh my God, I love this song. And then it comes on the radio a week later and you're not so excited about it, right? You're like, oh, this is okay, but let me see what else is on the radio. And so you start changing the dials because we're dynamic beings. So maybe whatever instruments are in that song, your body's not craving that one day when you're like, oh my God, I love this song. And then it's not so exciting anymore. So your body has replenished itself with what it needed from that song, and you change the station. Is that making sense? I know, I can't even see you guys. It's so weird. This is like talking to myself in the computer, and it's hard because I can't see your body language. Y'all may be just sleeping. I have no idea because I can't see you. So our bodies are dynamic, but we have traumas and triggers, and our body changes hourly. So how many of you guys have woken up and you're like, I'm in a great mood. I'm going to take on the world today. And you get a text. Maybe your boyfriend broke up with you and you're like, well, I didn't see that coming. Obviously your mood's not going to be as good as it was. So how many times a day does your mood change? I mean, think about it. It could change every minute, could change by the hour. It's quite dynamic, our bodies. They're super amazing. Now we go to the throat chakra. So you'll see obviously imbalances, sore throat, laryngitis, stiff neck pain, all, in that location of that throat chakra. Thyroid area, women a lot of times have a lot of thyroid problems, or hypothyroid or hyperthyroid, because they don't have a voice. So a lot of times, and I say this as a woman, I know, but we sometimes don't have a voice in corporate America or with our husband or spouse. And so we develop these Hashimoto diseases, different diseases that are around the throat chakra. Well, what if it's just an imbalance in the throat chakra? And we can do some of these things to bring that back into balance, and maybe we won't have Hashimoto's anymore. Isn't that an interesting concept to think about? That you could just put the chakra back into balance and eliminate disease? I have an RN client, a nurse, and during COVID, she was basically just out of school. So during COVID, she felt like she didn't have a voice with her colleagues. So she came in one day and she said, I feel like I have an energy goiter on my thyroid. Now, if you don't know what a goiter is, it's just kind of like I'll just say a tumor, let's call it cyst or tumor. But she said it wasn't physical, it was like an energy goiter, which we laughed and laughed about because we can have energetic goiters or energetic imbalances or malfunctions, because everything is energy. Everything's emotional. And I think most trauma is emotional. And we get out of balance and we need to come back into balance. And so what if we just use colors, sounds, foods, smells? You guys, what if it's that easy? And so when I get to the third eye, I'll give you a different example. I'm watching my time because I know I have only a couple minutes per slide. And you guys can always rewatch this as well. So some other malfunctions, so colds and thyroid problems, as we talked about, different things. So sometimes people, does anybody know a compulsive liar? So it could be a malfunction in the throat chakra, and as simple as that. I have a friend that, you could literally see a McDonald's bag, not that I eat McDonald's, a McDonald's bag in the trash. And I would say, oh, you had McDonald's. No, I didn't. Oh, there's a McDonald's bag in the trash. I had Burger King. Oh, but there's a McDonald's bag in the trash. Oh no, I didn't have McDonald's. Some people are so compulsively liars that it's just hard to deal with them. But what if it's just an imbalance in the throat chakra? So we have to really kind of see what we see with people. And it's really interesting when I observe people and their energies, and you can see how some people are just stuck at a certain age of trauma. Maybe it's 14 when their parents got divorced, or maybe it's 6 when they were molested, or 14 when they were molested, and they get stuck emotionally at that age. Yet they're now 50 years old, but you hear them talk and you can hear and see the 14-year-old child. And we just have to love that child and find ways to heal from that trauma. We need to do childhood trauma healing. It's very important for our adult beings to heal that childhood trauma. So some of the instruments that bring the throat chakra back into balance. Violin is one of my favorites. Oh my gosh, violin is so, I don't know another word for it, but I'm going to call it orgasmic. It just goes right through in the harmonic egg. It goes right through your body, your bones, your cells. It just hits that note, and it must be something my body needs, because I just love violin music. Instrumental. It's just, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. All right, on to the third eye chakra. So some of the imbalances, migraines. So I had migraines for 23 years. And I'm a Scorpio, zodiac sign. And you see the sugar addiction right here too. I had mother issues. Thankfully, never had a brain tumor. But I have some clients that have had and still have brain tumors. And we've basically kept it under control by using music and colors for the third eye chakra, and foods and different things like that. But I had migraines for 23 years, and I don't have migraines anymore since I've discovered sound and light therapies. And migraines can be caused by a lot of different things. Foods that we eat, stress levels, neck tension. But what if it's just an imbalance in the third eye chakra? So not too long ago, I had a little headache. Like I said, don't get the migraines anymore. It's been about 10 years. And oh my gosh, what a blessing that is. If you have migraines, if you're out there and you have migraines, you know what I'm talking about. They're debilitating. And if somebody walks up to me and says, oh, I got a migraine, I have to laugh, because a migraine, you wouldn't be talking, you wouldn't be walking, you wouldn't be, in front of anybody, because you'd be in a dark room and basically throwing up and having diarrhea. They're miserable. That's a migraine. Some people just have bad headaches. But I had a headache, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go to my training material. I'm going to go look in my own book. What a concept, right? I'm going to go look in my own book and figure out what's going to bring my third eye chakra back into balance because of this headache. So I go to my book, and I see, okay, I can smell some lavender, and that's in the next couple of slides. You'll see that. Smell some lavender, purple grapes, purple cabbage. I happen to have some purple cabbage in the refrigerator, so I ate some of that. I happen to have a lavender plant in my garden, so I went out there and asked the lavender plant if I could take a piece of it. Of course, it said yes. And within 45 minutes, the headache was gone, and I had had it for quite a while. I feel like I use my third eye chakra a lot. And I was recently at a delivery in Traverse City, and she had an aura reader. Now, I don't know how accurate these things are. I think sometimes when something's made by a human, there's error, because to be human is to have errors. If we were perfect, we wouldn't need to be here. So when she did the aura reading, I did come up depleted in my third eye chakra, which was really interesting and made me really realize that maybe there was some accuracy to this aura reader that she had. So it's kind of funny, because I'm a skeptic. I am always a skeptic, and I always have to figure out in my brain, how is this working? And some things are just magic, you guys. I was talking to my manufacturer today, and he said he had a warranty work, and the lady said she was hearing this, what he describes as a heartbeat that was disruptive in the egg, and she thought that it was the subwoofer that was broken. And the eggs seem to keep getting stronger and stronger in power. The more eggs we put on the land in different places, the stronger they all seem to be, like a self-organizing system. And he's an engineer and I'm an engineer. Well, then he went to another location and he said he was playing a piece of music, but he heard water sounds in that piece of music. And he said, I know that piece of music, it doesn't have water sounds in it, but the egg was playing water sounds. And I said, okay, what are you saying what I think you're saying? And he said, I think I am. I said, well, that doesn't fit in my head. And he said, so the egg can't have its own heartbeat, and the egg can't have an intelligence that gives people what they need. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't make that fit in my head. I just can't. So I read a book by Ray Kurzweil. I think it came out in, I want to say, gosh, I can't remember. Maybe 2000, year 2000, I think it was. And it was called The Age of Spiritual Machines. And maybe we're in that age of spiritual machines, guys. Okay, so moving on with the third eye chakra. I hope you guys don't mind. I digress and I just like squirrel, shiny thing. So here we see malfunctions, headaches, migraines, nightmares, eye strain, blurred vision. I have the blurred vision. And I think it's because I'm on this silly iPhone all the time. I basically feel like I work 24/7. So I don't have the balance that I should have in my life, but I'm definitely working on it. And I work on it every day. TMI, but I'm postmenopausal now. So still have a hormone imbalance, I think, a little bit, but look it's there in the third eye chakra. So as I'm using my third eye chakra and depleting, then these malfunctions are showing up. You see what I'm saying? So when you look at some of the symptoms that you have in your own life, it's interesting to go back and say, okay, where could I maybe have a chakra imbalance, and how can I strengthen that and eliminate the imbalances? So some of the foods that strengthen, you'd think, this like indigo purplish color, eggplant, purple grapes, prunes, purple carrots, which is brilliant. I love them. So some of the instruments that will bring the chakra back into balance are a piano. Flute shows up again. So flute is such a beautiful instrument. It has a very simple sound wave, and it helps the liver. It helps third eye chakra, as you see here. It helps so many different body parts. And I think our bodies were made where instruments can affect an organ. So a sound wave of an instrument can affect an organ. Think about that. And every different instrument can affect a different organ or system of the body. Like the piano, I've noticed, helps the autonomic nervous system come back into balance. So I've been studying this, and a lot of people want to say, it's 528 hertz or 432 hertz or the solfeggio suite of different frequencies. But I don't think there is a one size fits all. I think everybody is different. And if you know who David Hawkins is, he wrote the book Power versus Force. He talks about, 250 hertz being, a level like very low vibrational level, maybe anger, maybe hatred. But then you get up to the 400 and 500 hertz and you're talking about love and joy and gratitude. And you get up to 800 hertz and you're talking about almost Christ-like, Jesus-like, in the 900 or 1000 hertz. So depends on where you're vibrating as a being, what's going to support your body. So if you're vibrating at 800 hertz, why would you play 528 hertz for yourself and bring your vibration down? Is that making sense? It's all very curious to me. I love it. And I feel like too many people will say, okay, you have to use the solfeggio suite, but I'm finding it's more of the sound waves of the instruments and the colors that can help us to resolve the traumas, reset the bodies, bring our body back into balance, and help the body to heal. So then we have the beautiful crown chakra that a lot of the healers like to live in that space. But again, like I said, we need to be in balance all the way from the root to the crown, not just the crown or just the third eye. We should be eating the rainbow of colors every day. We should be wearing different colors. My boyfriend wears black every day. It annoys me. He has like 19 black t-shirts. And, black is such a depleting color, and it actually ages the skin. Literally ages the skin if we're wearing black all the time. And I know women out there were like, oh, black is so slimming. But we need to switch it up. We need to switch up the colors that we wear, that we eat, that we surround ourselves with. I'm looking at my office right now. I had it painted like blue because it's a very calming color. I had my bedroom painted purple, very relaxing color. You'll notice that maybe autistic kids have issues being around reds and oranges because they're very stimulating colors. And so there might be something there too that we could put together. I'm just thinking about this just now, that maybe their root and sacral chakras, when they're born, are strong and they don't need the reds or the oranges. I just made that up just now. I'm just thinking about it because that's what I do. I weave the stuff together in my mind and like, how can I figure this out? Why is this? So with the autistic kids, they usually we let them choose their own colors when they do sessions in the harmonic egg. They usually choose the greens, the blues, the purples, sometimes golds, and like turquoise is a very high heart color. Turquoise is a very high heart color. And so often they'll choose those colors, which so brilliant how well they know their bodies and how beautiful they are. I mean, people think the autistic kids have issues, but I think we have the issues. They have it all figured out, right? So again, the crown chakra. I'm gonna take a sip of water. Hold on. So you guys can read that, what it governs and what it's associated with. So some of the malfunctions here, depression shows up again. Depression is such an out of balance body symptom. And so there's, I think what they say, 47% of America is on an antidepressant. We're so out of balance. We have these poor sleep habits. We have too much technology, in my opinion. We're too busy. We're so busy all the time. And there's just not enough time in the day for me. I mean, I would love to be bored sometimes. I don't know what I would do though if I was bored, but yeah, we're just always on. We need to turn off. We need to listen to our bodies. We just don't do enough of that. So some of the smells for the crown chakra: clover, cinnamon, violet. What does violet smell like? Maybe there's a violet essential oil. Maybe that's a mistake in my presentation. Foods that strengthen. Sorry, you guys, I'm tired. I'm giddy now. Juicing, fruits, different colors, as you can see. The crown chakra is more about the color of purple. Lots and lots of water for the crown chakra. And I don't know how much water you guys drink. They say drink half your body weight in ounces of water. Did I say that right? So I probably drink, I live in Colorado, you guys, it's really dry here. I'm not going to just drink what do I weigh? About 140. I'm not going to just drink 60, 70, ounces of water. I'm like at 90 or 100 ounces a day. And I know that sounds like a lot, but my body's used to it. If you don't urinate every hour, you are dehydrated. Yes, every hour you should be urinating. Otherwise, you're dehydrated. So I tend to drink a lot of water, and most people don't. My mom would say, "Oh, I drank a lot of water today." I said, "How much water did you have?" "Oh, I had one of those bottles." It's like 16.9 ounces, right? That was a lot of water to her. If our bodies are almost 90% water, then 16 ounces of water a day is not enough water. So keeping your hydration up is very key to staying healthy and building your immune system. So some of the instruments that will bring the beautiful crown chakra back into balance. Strings, so string instruments, just like the heart chakra, strings will bring the crown chakra back into balance too. And some of these other lovely, high-pitched sounds, the bells, the chimes, the bowls. Oh, we love them. So amazing, 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 amazing. Okay, so it looks like my presentation is coming to an end soon. But instruments that affect the whole body, harp, guitar, piano, you saw a lot of flute also. The harp has the purest tone because of the way the strings are set with one note per string. Oh my gosh, harp is such a beautiful instrument. It vibrates the whole human organism and it creates these perfect overtones. I don't know if anybody knows Ani Williams. I talk about her a lot. She is brilliant and she plays the harp. And she's the one that I learned how you could be missing a tone from your voice that can cause a malfunction or an imbalance, like erectile dysfunction, very often missing the C tone. So she plays the harp, and it's AniWilliams.com if you're wanting to check her out. She does a great class on teaching you this, but she also has music selections that will bring those tones back into the body and replenish them. I remember doing a voice analysis on a woman. She had asthma, she had emphysema kind of symptoms, she could hardly breathe. And when we did her voice analysis, she was missing the tone of E, all associated with everything she had. I was amazed at how accurate this test is. Now, Sherry Edwards was the one that first came up with the missing tones, and she has a gift where she could just hear it. She doesn't need a machine to tell her, she could hear it. She has this gift. But now they've created machines or you can even take a guitar tuner or like a digital tuner, and you could listen to your voice and see what tones are missing and see what you need to replenish. But very accurate, if you will, diagnosis of symptoms just by finding out what tones are missing from your voice. I mean, look at the stuff that medicine doesn't understand. What if it's as simple as replenishing a tone or using color to balance a chakra? We wouldn't need to be on all the meds from big pharma, or we wouldn't have to be sick. We are the sickest nation, and we are sicker than we've ever been in history. And yet we have all this great technology and suppose all this great stuff that's supposed to help us to heal. So why are we so sick? We're not listening to our bodies. We're not using the tones and the natural things to heal. It's just so sad. So here's the three. I mean, I have thousands of books that I would recommend for people to read, but I thought one of my favorite numbers is 3. So this one is cute. Feelings buried alive never die. Can you imagine, right? It's kind of just scary sounding. So that book will tell you a lot about what trauma you have and what it could be associated with. There's another book, Messages from the Body by Michael Lincoln. It's not listed here. It's a very expensive book, but it's very thorough. It'll tell you why you have pain in the second joint of your left, index finger. It's quite detailed. But there's a reason for everything. Your body's talking to you all the time. Dr. Colreet, I'm not even sure how to say her last name. I've exchanged a few emails with her over the last year or so. She has a brilliant book, and how to use ancient sound, the science of sound, but ancient sound to heal the body and the mind. I think you guys would really enjoy that if you enjoyed the information in this presentation. And then Cindy Dale, she's, pretty much one of the foremost authorities in the chakras. So that's a really good book as well. There's another book. It's a little bit heady. It really goes deep, and it's kind of hard to focus on, but it goes really deep. Kay Gardner has a book called Sounding the Inner Landscape. And she really goes into details about the different waveforms of the different instruments. And it's just very detailed. So if you have the patience for it, she was a brilliant writer in this topic. So I'm going to do a little sales pitch, not because I want to, but you might want to pick up some of the music. I design all the music for the harmonic egg, and I hire high heart energy people to play the music. And what we do is we put together song sheets. So we had a Cyber Monday special, and I'll give you the code. It was 22% off, and I'll just keep it up there. I won't delete the coupon code until maybe late tomorrow night. But it was Make 22 Great. So MAKE 22 GREAT. And each music selection has a song sheet. It'll have associated color. It'll have the instruments to help with the different chakras. So you can check that out at harmonicegg.com. It's pretty fun. The music is one of my passions, is to create this music to help people to bring the different chakras back into balance and to really target areas instead of just a random song. I'm actually telling the guys or the girls, whoever's designing the music, listen, I want water sounds and nature sounds in this piece of music, along with flute and guitar. And this is going to be used for sugar cravings and PTSD, because PTSD is water sounds is so helpful for PTSD. It is so helpful. We have veterans that I have told me, I'm always attracted to water. I'm always attracted to the ocean or a fountain here and there. And come to find out, they have such severe PTSD, but no one's been able to help them with it. But their body's being attracted to the water sounds to help itself. So brilliant how our bodies are when we just listen. So I create this music, and nature sounds are also something that works to heal the DNA. So we always need to be working on our DNA at a DNA level. And water sounds will work on 800 to 900 different layers of the DNA or levels of the DNA. And I find that people, when they're listening to water sounds, have a lot of experiences from past lives that come up. I had a lady come in one time, and she made me laugh so hard because she said she had this very vivid image of her being a man, and she realized it was a past life in another lifetime. And when she woke up from the kind of trance, if you will, her meditation, she had to actually grab her chest to make sure she was still a woman. She's like, it was so vivid. So very cool, very, very fun stuff. So what I'm going to do is take questions now. I see a couple questions coming in, and I'm going to go back on camera. So let me take another sip of water here, and let me stop the screen share. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'm happy to take any questions that you guys have.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you so much. I'm so excited about all this. I just find this so fascinating. So thank you so much for doing all that you do. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I never know like if people are enjoying it or not. So thank you for that feedback.
Oh, I do too. I find it really fascinating. I see people in the world and my heart just aches when I look out. I was at the grocery store and I see this gentleman on oxygen in a wheelchair, and it's just my heart just like, I want to fix you, and we have the tools to do this. And so I just thank you for your insight, so we can go out and take the tools and help people.
Yeah, don't you wish you could just put your hands on them and just stop the hurt and the suffering and the pain?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but my question was some insight or advice, or some insight about working with children, young children.
Yep. So young children, I always keep the sound and the volume like lower. I work with them a lot on blues, greens, and purple lights. And if you're going to choose a song selection for them, choose something with nature sounds and maybe flute, like water, flute, birds. When you get to, adding drumming and cello and guitar, it's overstimulating for them. It's overwhelming for them, especially under the age of 7, when they really haven't developed their cerebral cortex yet. And they're still in that other realm. They're not really ready for all that stimulation. And I think that's one of the problems in society right now. The kids are so overstimulated. So I would do something just nature sounds, not a lot of chaos in the instruments, and focus with blues, greens, and purples. Does that help?
Yeah, that does. Thank you so much.
Let me see this other question. Regarding the tones in the missing tones in the voice, how are you able to resolve that? Do sessions in the egg help with that? As a singer, I'm so curious about this. Okay, great question. You don't have to use the harmonic egg. You can use a different song selections. I'm trying to think, what is that thing that you blow in? Somebody help me out here. Pitch pipe. You could bring those tones back into your own body's balance. Ani Williams, she has CDs with just C tones. Some of the music that we have, every single piece of music is recorded in a specific tone, and all the song sheets will tell you, this is the tone it's recorded in. These are the instruments that are used. These are the nature sounds that we used. These are the colors associated with this. So at home, you can do this home healing and bring those back into balance. Each tone, like I said, the C tone is in the color of red. I'd have to look at all my notes from Ani, but every tone has a different color associated with it. So yes, you can do this at home with the pitch pipe, with colors, with different instruments. Even if you play an instrument or if you sing, you can sing in that tone that you think you're missing. Does that help? All right, so that was from Megan, but I don't know if I answered it okay. Okay, so here's another question. Would you please repeat the name of the book and author that wrote about frequencies and hertz? Okay, did I mention that? Sometimes I channel stuff and I just go off on these random things. So frequencies and hertz, I think it would have been Kay Gardner. sounding the inner landscape. She was a beautiful soul. I think she passed away in 98. And I really feel like intuitively that her family thought she was crazy in the head. So her work was so brilliant for me. It was one of the aha books that helped me to understand the frequencies and the hertz and the different sound waves of the instruments. But I feel like when she passed away, her family just threw her stuff away. That's what I intuitively feel. And we've had actually clients that have seen her energetically in the egg. They saw this little blonde lady in the egg. So I think she was brilliant, and I feel so bad that her work maybe, she was leaving a legacy, but it didn't really, it wasn't appreciated by her family. So I think that's the book that you were asking about. Oh, thank you, Megan. I'm glad I answered your question. Okay, what other questions? Anything else, you guys?
We do have another question.
Cool.
And I'd like to just reiterate, please use the Q&A, because if people are chatting in the chat box, then I can't monitor that. So
Good
just to
chat
let you know. So in the solar plexus, you say clover bark. Is that as a smell?
Yes, there's actually a smell to that. I'm just looking at the chat too. Oh, okay. Yeah, so sometimes things are international. So some of the books I read are international. So maybe it's something that you could get in Egypt or something like that. So I always give an alternative. And I see in the chat too, David Hawkins. So David Hawkins, question mark. He wrote the book Power versus Force. So you can look him up. And I think he passed away as well. Okay, so I won't look at the chat anymore. I get distracted. Squirrel.
Well, this is why I like to put it in one place so that everybody gets their question answered and we don't miss anything. Does anybody else have any other questions at this time? It's a fabulous presentation, Gail.
Thank you. I hope everybody loved it. I thought this is a ton of information. They can go back and watch it again. But it's like 12 years of my research all in like an hour.
So you mentioned a book that, was it Messages from the Body? Would you mind reiterating who that was?
Michael Lincoln, Lincoln. I'm so glad you guys learned so much. I'm seeing little comments and stuff. That's awesome.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, literally this book by Michael Lincoln is it's so funny. It'll say, second joint on your, this left forefinger, the, index finger. It is so detailed. I have found it to be really cool. Like I had a client that came in and she had herpes, and we looked at the book and she just started crying. It was so accurate on why this is happening to her that she just started crying.
Interesting. Well, the subconscious mind lives in the body, and, the DNA records everything, and the trauma sits at the cellular level. So it doesn't surprise me that sound has this effect. In fact, I grew up in Africa, in Zimbabwe. So when I put the sounds of the bush on YouTube, my body literally breathes differently. And it's almost like there's a recognition internally of home. It's like the bush is home, the sounds of the animals, the sounds of the crickets, the sounds of the night and the signs of the day are different. And yet the body recognizes each and every one of them. And it goes, right down deep in the body. It's quite incredible.
It's so incredible. I think you're so right. I just moved to outside the city limits, and it's more the country, but it's not the country. It's an hour from the city. And I was driving out of the city, and almost like I hit this energy field that it's not all the chaos of the city. It was so amazing today. It was some point where the energy and the aura of the city was gone, and it started to get into the country, and my body just relaxed.
Well, do you have EMF? Like, do you have a lot of Wi-Fi where you are?
The new house in the country? No. If I look at the Wi-Fi, there's like 5 of them. Where my old house, I would see like 30 that I
Yeah.
could pick from.
I would suspect that it's also not just the energetics, but the EMF from the Wi-Fi that we can't see. And yet there's research by quite a few scientists and physicians that talk about that too. So it makes sense. I mean, I've lived all over the world and I can attest to what you're saying. Each place has its own feeling, sound, color, and sense, and the body recognizes that, but we forget. And I think what I really like about this presentation is that it's bringing us back to ourselves, and that's what the whole point of the series was, Light and Sound, to really begin the exploration of what does that mean, how does it affect our bodies, and let's have a dialogue and conversation about that. So I'm really pleased that we were able to do that and to discuss it somewhat in 1 hour. It's very difficult to go and do anything, but I think it's a really important piece. So I think that book that you mentioned, Michael Lincoln, that's the expensive one. Is that the one? Okay. So I'm just going to say we answered that for Laurie. We answered that. And thanks, Gail. Yes, you're going to get the recording too.
Oh, so somebody's saying, by the way,
yes,
violet and violet leaf essential oil. Thank you. Because I was looking at it, I'm like, so I
have a question actually with that kind of thing, if I may.
Yeah.
Flower essences. Have you done any research with that? Because I use that for animals, and I mean, animals are easy. They don't have an ego. They respond to everything in real time. There's no filter. So, and they really respond well, provided you choose the right one.
Yeah.
Have you had experience with that?
I have, but let me say too, what I've noticed with the animals and also children.
Yes.
Love heals all.
Correct.
Children and animals only know love. So they heal like
that's it. It's true. I noticed with babies, they basically are very similar to when I do work with the animals, and they'll respond right away. And it's so true. They are attracted to those who can actually radiate that love.
Yeah.
And they absolutely know, you're right. And love is everything. Love it. And the heart is everything. Absolutely.
So back to the flower essences, because I don't want to avoid.
Please go ahead. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, we could talk about love all day, because I just tell, love, the Beatles and, whatever. But I know that there's different flower essences and there's different flower remedies. But I think we have to be careful of, like, I love the Bach flower remedies. Now, I haven't tested it with the pendulum, but you want to test the integrity of the manufacturing process.
Correct. And I agree with you.
Who handles these tinctures? Do you bless them on your, when you pick them up yourself? So sometimes I'll pick up a bottle and I'm like, I don't need this.
I know that feeling.
But as soon as I clear the negative energy from it, I need it. So somebody told me, there's a C60 product. And they said, everybody needs C60. And I tested it and I didn't need it.
Yeah.
But what if it was about who handled that bottle? What if it was about the manufacturer's integrity and the owner's integrity? So I use the Bach flower remedies. Vervain is one of my go-tos for just calming down. I use remedies on my horse, and I ask her.
So do I.
I'll ask her. And what that means.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but I want to just put something in here real quick. Is that what you're describing to me are layers? So there are layers. So when you're testing something, you're testing a particular layer. When you're clearing that layer, now you've come down to a different layer that has a different frequency. Now with animals, I noticed it's the same. If they're sick, they don't usually, because of the layers of distortion, because of the illness, they can't read as well as an animal that is healthy. So they might choose a remedy that helps on a certain point or level, but then you can't go deeper because the animal is sick. So that's when the distortion is there, and that needs to be cleared out and cleared out and cleared until you're able to get a read. But I've noticed that, and it's so interesting to me.
Yeah.
I
Well,
learned a
also with
lot.
plants, like a plant. Okay, so plant, they don't have arms, right? But they get a
Right.
bug on them. And if they're not healthy enough to give off a vibration to an animal to say, hey, come eat this bug off of me because it's going to hurt me, then they get infested with bugs because they're not healthy enough to give off that vibration to attract what they need to get that infestation off of them. So I've been playing with all this information and saying, okay, maybe the human body is the same. We're not giving off the right vibration to resolve the infestation of the virus or the cancer or the this or the that. So I'm watching this plant that I just received, and it's got all these bugs all over it, but yet the plant right next to it doesn't have anything.
So that's interesting. And it means then it's the internal environment that's not healthy.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting? I remember reading this research once about in Africa, they had this little game park and it had all these antelope, and it was the resources were not matched with the animals. There were too many animals. And so what the trees did was that they actually released, I think they were acacia trees, they released this chemical and all these antelopes died. So they would not be overbrowsed. But what they were doing is that they were sharing the chemical signal with the next tree to create the tannins in the leaves. And so these tannins at a certain peak level, the antelope died. And all the trees in this little national park that was an enclosed area. So now you have toxicity in an enclosed area. And that's how the trees were actually trying to protect themselves. And I thought that was absolutely fascinating.
It
Truly.
is. I feel like all of nature, all the animals on the planet are here to serve us. We're here to serve them.
Yes.
We have to respect the land. We have to respect the animal. We should thank the animal for giving its life, but yet it's honored to give its life to provide food for us. And we need to honor that. It blows my mind how deep this can go.
Yes, it can. And the wisdom of nature, and I got all the hairs just went up on my the wisdom of nature and the animals to share their knowledge. All you have to do is really be in a clear state of mind to receive, and it's right there. It's everything that we need is provided by nature. You will find an anecdote in nature everywhere you go.
Well, there's a comment that's saying about the plant experiment where you say, I love you to one plant, and then you give like, I hate you to the next plant, and that plant dies. And the I love you plant just flourishes. So that's a great comment.
It is.
It's so beautiful. So when I plant my garden, I put the seeds in my mouth and suck on them before I put them into the ground.
Cool.
Because then it has your enzymes and your energy so that plant will know what nourishment it needs to provide to you.
Yes, there's an affinity now. You've created a connection. And that's the other thing, I feel is that it's not just knowing this knowledge. How do we connect to this knowledge?
Right.
How do our bodies connect to this knowledge? And we're oftentimes taught about facts and knowledge is power, but I actually think the power is in the heart and in the connection piece. And it's in the interpretation. And if we listen, you said we don't listen to our bodies. And yet if we did, we would have this idea of connection. That's basically what I've learned through my work is that connection piece. And I honed it, and I know my body knows.
Yeah.
So I could be next to someone, for example, and my body goes, oh no, you're not going to be here. This person is not having the right intentions. And my solar plexus will start churning like this. And I know. So that's listening to my body, Oh yes. Thanks, Mary.
We have more conversations like that. Yes, I love this. I love this.
Enlarge the topic.
I just moved. Yeah, this is the conversations I love. This canned presentation stuff when I can't see you guys is hard for me. But I just moved to this piece of property. It's 2.2 acres. I had the house built and it's all on sand in Colorado. But I asked the land the other day, I said, okay, land, what do you need from me? And who are my animal spirits? Okay, this is crazy. I was in the kind of halfway hypnagogic dream state. and I saw these big crows looking in the window. And I'm not talking about big crows, human-sized crows with orange and green stripes on just their wings.
Mm.
And they felt like they were very prehistoric, like old dinosaur kind of crows that were large as humans. And they're like, we got this. You need to wake up and write this down. We need this stone for this land. And we're going to be your guardians. There was probably 5 of them. Big heads. It wasn't a raven. It was a crow.
Mm.
And they said, write down. And what I heard was laborite. Now, I don't know that there's a
Oh,
stone.
they were right. Yes, yes, yes. I
Right.
do know it.
So I said labor. They're like, no. They said you have to add the ORDITE. And so I wrote down labor ORDITE because that's what they told me. But it's LABRAORDITE, and it's an actual stone.
It is.
And so I'm going to buy big chunks of it because that's what they want to be on this land. I can't wait to plant the trees and ask every single tree, like, what crystal would you like? What do you need? What nourishment do you want? I'm just so excited and giddy to be on this land, to be the guardian. I don't own this.
Mm.
I'm the guardian of this land for the short time that I will be on this land.
So let's circle back to crystals, light, and sound. And I know last week's presentation was really about the ancient use of that, the light and sound. So how would you use the crystals for light and sound?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
That just started coming into my
Okay.
my downloads. And someone told me recently in an astrology reading, I'm one of the sisters, the crystal sisters. I don't even know what this means yet. That I have permission to use the crystals. That
they're a
because
group
of
consciousness.
my previous lifetimes.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
They're
and I,
group
you know,
consciousness.
that's the one thing that I am kind of against. I want the crystals in their natural form. I don't want someone polishing it into a wand, or, you know, if it's supposed to be a hexagon, you know, image. I don't have any of my crystals out there all in boxes right now, but if it's supposed to be a hexagon image, and, you know, and that's how it grew, I want to have a hexagon of it. I don't want to have a cube of it or a wand of it, because I think in their natural form, they are more magical.
I agree with you, you know, and something came into my mind. I did some research on photons, and that's light. And, you know, the research was to find out whether or not probiotics have some type of subjectivity and are affected by our thoughts. And, you know, it was a preliminary piece of research, an introductory piece, but I did find it, depending on whether the probiotic was coherent or not. And coherence is really an important factor where you have, for example, if you want to look for heart coherence, you know, a scientist will look for what you would get on a reading that would not be up and down. It would be quite coherent and quite uniform. So I found that, and the coherent probiotics actually emitted less photons, which is light, and we have biophotons in the body. And so a lot of what you're talking about is us taking those biophotons from all these, ingesting food and ingesting light through the eyes, and the different types of frequencies of the not the essences, but the aromatherapy that you were suggesting. So I think that, you know, this conversation can be much, much larger with the photon, and the fact that the thought of the person affected the probiotic to either release more because they're stressed or to flourish. So internally, you know, you can start to see how the environment is affected, not just by what's around us, but what we have up here.
Well, I work with this doctor too that makes essential oils, and, you know, and in August, September, and October, he might get his frankincense from one country, but in March, April, and May, he might get it from another country. So if you think about it, how strong was the plant? Was the plant in its, you know, like really strong phase when it was harvested? And then I worked with another lady in Egypt. She said there was a garden of Isis.
Oh,
and I don't remember her name right now. Started with an L. And the garden told her, you need to harvest us and you need to preserve us. And she was like, wait, what? This plant's talking to me. The whole garden's talking to me. Well, she did. And after she harvested it, like the next year, it was all dead in Egypt.
interesting.
And she thought, okay, it was important for those plants to talk to her and say, hey, you need to, preserve our essence because we're not going to be here next year. But she didn't know. She just felt the sense of urgency and they're like, yes, you have to do this. And so she harvested all that and created these garden of Isis essences. It's crazy.
That's pretty interesting. Does
Yeah.
anybody else have any other questions? We could be here for a long time, but I'm
know,
I'm
right?
mindful of
I
time
geek
for
out on all
everybody. Yes. So does anybody have any last questions? Doesn't look like anybody does.
Cool. All right. Well, it was lovely to spend some time with you again.
Yes, I'm so
Thank you
pleased.
to everybody.
I'm so pleased that you could join us tonight. Thank you, Gail, and thank you everybody for joining us. If you have any questions, you can connect with me, and you know that CIHS has academic degrees too, so connect with me if you're interested or auditing one. And we're a 501c, so if anyone wants to sponsor an event, again, connect with me and I'll be able to help you. Gail, any lasting words?
I think we covered a lot of
We did,
topics.
didn't we? Gail, thank you for being with us and thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank